Welcome to the Real News Network. I'm Paul Jay in Washington. And in Pakistan, more than 4 million people have been left homeless by tremendous flooding, the worst flooding in a century. 1,600 people at least have been killed. Perhaps 15 million people have been displaced. Affected particularly Pakistan's Swat Valley, which was the place the battle between Pakistan troops and the Taliban took place a few months ago. More than 550,000 hectares of farmland are underwater. 250,000 homes damaged or destroyed. 100,000 people apparently have been rescued by Pakistan's military from flooded areas. But people are saying the military is not doing enough and the government's doing even less. Now joining us from Essex, England, is Mohammed Junaid. He's a scholar studying Pashtun Nation. He originates from Peshawar in Pakistan. Thanks for joining us, Junaid.
Thank you.
So tell us what you hear, what's going on with the flooding, and particularly what are the implications going forward in Pakistan?
It is an unprecedented amount of water coming down from Swat Valley. Let me tell you what happened first. In Swat Valley, there have been 7 cloud bursts simultaneously on 28th of July. It was millions of gallons of water, and the flood was taken specifically through the Swat River. The major bridges, 18 major bridges in Swat have been destroyed. In 1929, the British established a barrage which is used to distribute agricultural water into smaller canals in Pakistan. At the tip of Swat, Munda barrage, which actually distributes water from Swat, coming from Swat into the Khyber Pakhtunkhwa.
This is like a drainage canal of some kind?
Yes, it is a distribution system. It's a big wall which actually distributes the big river into smaller canals. Now, this canal was actually designed for taking a maximum load of 50,000 cusics. Cusics is cubic centimeter of water going per second. However, it encountered a water load of 300,000 cusics, which never happened in the last 100 years. So that barrage is no more. That distribution system was transferred into smithereens, and the water came down, and all the fertile lands which were naturally on the river banks came under severe floods. My own home is in Nowshera, and Nowshera is a district which is very fertile. It's about 500 meters away from the river, and you can imagine that it was under 30 feet of water. There was 30 feet of water, and I couldn't see my house from the video that I've received from Pakistan. So this is the level of severity. However, the problem is this flood has gone downwards towards the Arabian Sea, and it has taken the most fertile lands of Punjab, it has taken out the fertile lands of Sindh, and it has destroyed all the staple crops, a lot of sugarcane crop. Poor people, 70% people are supported by agricultural produce. They are farmers normally, and they don't have anything now to live off. That is the most immediate problem that is faced by Pakistan.
So there's going to be tremendous potential starvation.
Yes, it is. It is a big fear that there will be, a famine in the next 6 months to 1 year. Especially those poor people are unable to sustain themselves. However, the short-term problems will hopefully be looked after by the international community and the Pakistani community. The long-term problems are very severe because more than 4 million people have lost their homes, and building a house is not easy. It needs money. It needs a lot of resources. And that will need a big investment, and nobody knows where it will come from.
So what do you think are the potential implications, first of all, on the military side?
Well, the military side, it has shown its implications actually. On the second or third day of the flood, the commandant of Frontier Constabulary, Mr. Sifat Ghayur, who was a 29-year-old veteran of Peshawar police and one of the star cop of NWFP of Khyber Pakhtunkhwa now, has been assassinated by a suicide bomber, and the responsibility was taken by the local Taliban that they have assassinated that man. He was a real star performer. I mean, we as children remember his stories. So they've started their activities. Local Taliban are also, there are news that local Taliban are also recruiting people and telling them that the wrath of God has taken them because they oppose Taliban, and they should now come back to Taliban so that they can defeat wrath of God. And this type of propaganda is being ushered by Taliban.
So is this likely then, you think, to strengthen the Taliban? It's going to tie up the army? And let me ask another question. Is there any suggestion that Pakistan will move some of the troops from Kashmir up into this area?
to look at it, from this perspective, because there is, everything is actually devastated. There is nothing left. There will be some comeback done by Taliban. However, Swat Valley is totally in control. As a matter of fact, the Pakistan army said that they had advantage in dealing with the situation in Swat because they were already placed in the disaster zone, so they took care of it very well. There will be some repercussion of it negatively. However, I don't think the people will come in this propaganda because the local Taliban have really put a bad name to their own face, and I don't think they can be supported now within Pakistan.
Oh, you think this will actually lead to less popular support for the Taliban, not more?
Yes, I think people will be more busy in re-establishing themselves somehow, because they have their agricultural land and they have to re-establish their lives. So I don't think they have enough time now to go and wage war against their own army. I don't think so.
So for the sake of the relief efforts, they're going to have to pull back some of the fighting.
Yes, they have to do that, and they are doing that. But in all opinion, the relief work is there are a lot of volunteers in that area, and they are taking care of the things. Those people have to take care of themselves because this is how the Pakistani government acts. I mean, our president has been going around in Europe while there has been floods. So Pakistani nation is almost always left to look after themselves.
Yeah, we've seen reports of many areas where the government representative hasn't shown up yet, including army representatives. But let me ask you this question. What effect do you think this might have on the fighting in Afghanistan?
Well, it will have, some amount of effect because many Afghanistan is, normally fed by the Pakistani lands. Many things, go to Afghanistan. Many people have lost their cattle. And the famine situation will have repercussion on Afghanistan. There will be some food shortages.
So if you get what you're saying might happen, a terrible famine in Pakistan, and you start to then get reflections of that in Afghanistan, how does that affect the situation in Afghanistan? Do you know what the actual amount of the food supply of Afghanistan depends on Pakistan?
Oh yes, because not all of it is formal. There is a lot of informal sector working, and there is a lot of smuggling going on. Where there is no tax paid, and illegally there is a lot of food going into Afghanistan because it's a big border. It's a porous border, so it will affect the general populace in a huge way. This might affect the Afghan population, to look up to NATO and America, to help them to get their daily food. It can reflect into that, yes.
Well, the obvious place where food could come from would be India.
Yes, exactly. Indians can do that. They will be, using more of the government channels. And as you know, in Afghanistan also, the governance is such that, their reach is very low. So there will be some trouble.
Yeah, that's another basis for hoarding and speculation.
Exactly. It is. It will raise the prices as well.
Thanks very much for joining us, Junaid.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for joining us on the Real News Network.